Okay, I'm going to call to order the reconvened meeting of the Township Officers Electoral Board. This is Thursday, January 17th, and it's 2:03. And this is for the hearing on Township Officers Electoral Board number 2013, Township Officials Electoral Board 1, John D. Stebbins, petitioner objector versus Laura Sandifer, respondent candidate. Would you call the roll, please?
Carol Elliott.
Here.
Robert Lewis.
Here.
Phyllis Clark. Here.
Okay. Also present is Fred Grosser, who again is advising the board on procedural issues and not on the decision to be made. Also present is Andrew Beckett on behalf of Laura Sandifer, and Ruth Wyman has entered an appearance on behalf of John D. Stebbins. I think in proceeding, what the board is going to do is go over a document that I've prepared, which is kind of a synopsis of the timeline and a summary of last week's meeting, some proposed findings of facts, and then we will go through the objections one by one to discuss. And I did give copies of this to Ruth and to Mr. Beckett. Yes.
Ruth Wyman on behalf of Mr. Stebbins, the objector. I do have a question in that if there's an opportunity for the attorneys involved representing the parties to make any further, provide any further information or discussion, or if anything like that, just to provide any further supplement, I would request if we could be allowed perhaps 3 minutes each or so.
I think at this point we've already heard evidence, and so I think we would want to proceed with just our discussion.
Okay. In that case, obviously, if the board members have any questions, I'm obviously here and available, and so is Mr.
Okay.
Pickett. Thank you.
Great. Okay, thank you. I don't know if you've had a chance to read this whole thing. It's since you got it. And what I can do is go over the proposed findings of fact, or we can start reading with the objections specifically, unless you have any preference.
I don't have any preference. Just
Okay.
go over it so everybody's aware.
Okay. I'll start on page 3. Okay. I'm going to start on page 3 of the document, the proposed findings of fact. Kevin Sandifer previously circulated petitions for Laura Sandifer for the Democratic Party race for Cunningham Township Assessor, collected 103 signatures. He then circulated petitions for Laura Sandifer for an independent candidate for Cunningham Township Supervisor for the same election season. Laura Sandifer previously circulated petitions for herself for the Democratic primary race for Cunningham Township Assessor. Total signatures were 62. After withdrawing her petitions for nomination in the Democratic primary, she circulated petitions for independent candidate for Cunningham Township Assessor for the same election season. There are 22 signatures of registered voters who signed various petitions for Democratic candidates running in the primary election. These same people also signed petitions for Laura Sandifer running as an independent candidate for the same election season. However, 2 of the signatures are duplicates, Jean Paley and someone who signed, whose name I couldn't read, that lives at 806 South Urbana. And it's possible that the signature of John Malkovich appears twice, but I'm not absolutely sure, because on one there was a first name and one there was an initial. And this is after comparing all of the references in the objector's petition to the copies of the petitions that I had. In the left-hand column on page 4, the X's refer to references that didn't match up when I looked at the petitions, that they were not the same signatures. So, yes.
In the first paragraph, it says Cunningham Township Supervisor.
The first paragraph of,
Those findings
oh, okay. Yeah, all right, thank you. There may be several corrections needing to be made in this. Okay, so page 3, the Cunningham Township Supervisor is meant to be Cunningham Township Assessor. Okay. All right, so on page 4, there's a list of the names that appear on Laura Sandifer's petition and various other candidates, and the names of the people or addresses, if I couldn't read the name, that signed both of these. And while reviewing these petitions, I found a couple more too, which also were signers on both the Democratic nominees and on the independent candidates' petitions. And after weeding out the duplicates, the number I arrived at was 20 signatures. Okay. And if one of the Malkovich signatures is a duplicate, then the total number of signatures on petitions would be reduced by 1. And then there were 4 signatures on Laura Sandifer's petitions for independent candidate for Cunningham Township Assessor, whose addresses are not within the Cunningham Township boundaries, and I've listed the names where I could read them and the addresses. Nancy Livingstone at 305 East Greenview, and then another person at 1304 Christopher Circle, DeMondre Jones at 1502B Carroll Avenue, and James Sargent at 2203 Perkins Road. And then we have responses to specific objections in the Stebbins petition, and we also have recommendations later in this document. Do you want to go over the responses and the recommendations at the same time, or should we just plug through?
Just plug through.
Okay. All right. On page 3, or on page 5, I'm sorry. Objection number 3. The objector hereby objects to the petitions for nomination filed by Laura Sandifer, purportedly for Cunningham Township, and Township is written twice, Assessor. Full-term nomination as an independent candidate in Cunningham Township in the county of Champaign, Illinois, because on information and belief, the respondent candidate, Laura Sandifer, signed a petition for Bill Brown for nomination for the Democratic Party for Alderman of Ward 4 in Urbana, Illinois. A copy of Bill Brown's petitions for nomination are attached hereto as Exhibit 2 and hereby incorporated by reference. On information and belief, respondent candidate Sandifer's signature appears on page 3, line 13 of those petitions. See Exhibit number 2, page 3, line 13. My response, and we will also include responses of the other board members, that it is true that Laura Sandifer's signature does appear on Bill Brown's petition and also on Leslie Stratton's petition, page 5, line 5. From what I could tell by going through the petitions, it did not appear that Laura Sandifer signed her own nominating petition, but she did circulate a petition for herself for the same election season. Anything additional you want to? Okay. All right. Objection number 4. A voter may not sign petitions for candidates of more than one political party for the same primary election. That's 10 ILCS 5/7-10. If a voter does not sign a political party petition, he may sign one independent candidate's petition for each office to be elected. On pages 1, 2, 4, 5, 8 through 12, 14 through 16, 20, and 22 are signatures of the Democratic Party this election cycle. See Exhibit 1, pages 1, 2, 4, 5, 8 through 12, 14 through 16, 20, and 22. My response is that I had listed the names and addresses previously in this document of persons who signed Democratic nominating petitions and independent nominating petition for the same election season. Names are listed unless the signature was not clear, and that there were 2 duplicates, and also possible that one person signed twice. Anything to add to that one? Okay. Objection number 5. Petition signers must be registered voters in the political subdivision in which the candidate is seeking nomination or election. That's 10 ILCS 5/7 through 10, 10-2, 10-3, 10-4. Petitioners on pages, or let's see, okay, petition signers, I think that's supposed to mean. On pages 1, 2, 6 through 9, 12, 13, 15 through 18, 20 through 23 are not registered voters at the addresses they gave. See Exhibit 1, pages 1, 2, 4, 5, 8 through 12, 14 through 16, 20, and 22. And my response is that within the documentation provided to us, there is no way to ascertain what the proper address is without reviewing the voter registration rolls. It would not be appropriate for this board to view voter registration rolls at the county clerk's office, and no such request was made for the board to review the voter registration records. Anything to add? Okay.
That's true.
Objection number 6. Respondent candidate Sandifer is in violation of 10 ILCS 5/10 through 3. Independent candidates are defined as those individuals who are not candidates of any political party, but who are candidates in an election at which party candidates may appear on the ballot. And there are several subsections to this. We'll start with A. Sandifer is currently appointed as a Democrat on the Champaign County Board of Review. My response is that the statute cited above does not address this situation, and it is not the duty of the electoral board to address the appointment to the Board of Review as a Democrat, and therefore is not relevant to this hearing. Anything to add?
No.
Okay. Subsection B. Sandifer was elected Democratic Precinct Committeeman for Cunningham 13 Precinct until her resignation on the day of her filing as an independent candidate for Township Assessor December 26, 2012. See Exhibits 3 and 5. My response is this would seem not to be relevant since she did resign the position of Precinct Committeeman. Any additions? Okay. Going on to subsection C. Sandifer ran and filed for Cunningham Township Assessor on the Democratic Party for the February 26, 2013 primary. See Exhibit number 4. Sandifer at that time declared she was running for office under the Democratic Party. First, she signed the statement of candidacy. See Exhibit 1. Second, Sandifer signed petitions for Laura Sandifer for Township Assessor for Democratic Party, page 491. See Exhibit 1. Laura Sandifer signed Democratic petitions for Bill Brown, page 3, line 13, see Exhibit 2. Therefore, respondent candidate declared her Democratic partisan for this election cycle. My response, Sandifer previously signed the statement of candidacy as a Democrat, previously signed the nominating petitions herself as a Democratic candidate, previously circulated nominating petitions initially for herself for the Democratic primary, previously signed other nominating petitions for Democratic candidates, and subsequently circulated petitions for herself as an independent candidate and signed the statement of candidacy as an independent, all within the same election season. This is prohibited by statute 10 ILCS 5/10 through 4 and upheld in United States Court of Appeals, 7th Circuit, Citizens for John W. Moore Party et al. Plaintiffs Appellants versus Board of Education Commissioners of the City of Chicago, et al. Defendants appellees number 87-2171, United States Court of Appeals, 7th Circuit, Citizens for John W. Moore Party, et al. Plaintiffs appellants versus the Board of Election Commissioners of the City of Chicago, et al. Defendants appellees number 85-1012, Appellate Court of Illinois, 1st District, 4th Division, John McGuire, petitioner appellant, versus Doris J. Nagaj, and Michael R. Lavelle, James R. Nolan, and Cornel A. Davis, constituting the Chicago Board of Election Commissioners and the Chicago Officers Electoral Board. Respondent appellees number 860518, and Appellate Court of Illinois, 4th District, Thomas R. Schober, plaintiff appellee versus James S. Young, defendant appellant, the State Board of Elections Chairman William McGuffage, and members Wanda Rednauer, Elaine Rupus, K.D. Holloway, David E. Murray, and Philip O'Connor, defendants, number 4-00-0882. Anything to add? Okay. Going on to objection number 7. The petitioner objector furthermore objects to respondent candidate's petition based on 10 ILCS 5/10-4. A petition circulator may not circulate for an independent candidate or candidates in addition to candidates for an established political party. See Exhibit 1, pages 4-5, and Exhibit 4, pages 2, 6-8, 17-20. Circulator Kevin Sandifer circulated petitions for the Democratic and Independent candidate on pages 4-5 on Exhibit 4 and pages, there's a typo there, 2, 6-8, 17-20 on Exhibit 4. Laura Sandifer circulated petitions for the Democratic Party and Independent candidate. See Exhibit 1, pages 1-3 and pages 1, 4, 12, 21-23. And my response to this is the same as the response in the previous subsection 6C. Anything to add? Okay. Number 8, objection. On the respondent candidate's petitions, including the page that on information and belief was signed by respondent candidate Laura Sandifer, the signatures of voters follow the language, quote, "We, the undersigned, members of and affiliated with the Democratic Party and qualified primary electors of the Democratic Party," unquote. See Exhibit number 4. And my response is also the same as it was in 6C. Anything to add?
Nope.
Okay. Going on to number 9, objection. On petitions of Bill Brown for nomination as Democrat for alderman, including the page that on information and belief was signed by respondent candidate Laura Sandifer, the signatures of the voters follows the language that states, quote, "We, the undersigned members of and affiliated with the Democratic Party and qualified primary electors of the Democratic Party," unquote. See Exhibit 2. Therefore, respondent candidate declared her Democratic partisan in this election cycle. And my response, again, is the same as in 6C. Any additions?
Nope.
Okay. And also, lastly, is proposed finding of facts. Neither party to the hearing at any time requested a continuance of the hearing. We are now going on to conclusions. And these are the same objections that I just read over. I could go ahead and read my recommendation or recommendation to the board, and we can discuss each one individually, if that would be appropriate. Do you need me to read over the objection again? Okay. All right, and this is on page 8. Okay, in the case of John D. Stebbins, petitioner versus Laura Sandifer, candidate, Township Officers Electoral Board considered information and evidence presented and respond accordingly to each of the objections raised in the objector's petition to the petition for nomination. Objection number 3. The objector hereby objects to the petitions for nomination filed by Laura Sandifer, purportedly for Cunningham Township Assessor, full-term nomination as an independent candidate in Cunningham Township in the County of Champaign, Illinois, because on information and belief, the respondent candidate, Laura Sandifer, signed a petition of Bill Brown for nomination for the Democratic Party for Alderman of Ward 4 in Urbana, Illinois. A copy of Bill Brown's petitions for nomination are attached hereto as Exhibit Number 2 and hereby incorporated by reference. On information and belief, respondent candidate Sandifer's signature appears on page 3, line 13 of those petitions. See Exhibit 2, page 3, line 13. My recommendation is that this objection should be overruled. Sandifer signed nominating petitions for several Democratic candidates, but did not sign a petition for herself as an independent candidate, although she did file a statement of candidacy as an independent candidate and circulated nominating petitions initially as a Democratic candidate and subsequently as an independent candidate. If she had signed nominating petitions for herself as an independent candidate in addition to having already signed nomination petitions for Democratic candidates, then the recommendation would be to abstain the objection. Is there any discussion of the other board members?
None for me.
Concur or?
I concur.
Okay. All right. So the 3 board members concur with that recommendation. All right. Excuse me. Moving on to objection number 4. A voter may not sign petitions for candidates of more than one political party for the same primary election. It's referencing 10 ILCS 5/7 through 10. If a voter does not sign a political party petition, he may sign one independent candidate's petition for each office to be elected. On pages 1, 2, 4, 5, 8 through 12, 14, 16, 20, and 22 are signatures of the Democratic Party this election cycle. See Exhibit 1, pages 1, 2, 4, 5, 8, 12, 14 through 16, or 8 through 12, 14 through 16, 20, and 22. My recommendation is that this objection be sustained, and this is referring to page 3 and 4 of the proposed finding of facts, names and or addresses of signers of nominating petition for Democratic candidates, which also appear on Sandifer's nominating petition as an independent candidate, are listed. 10 ILCS 5/7 through 10 prohibits voters from signing nomination petitions for an established party and also for an independent candidate during the same election seasons. There are 20 signatures which should be stricken from the petitions. Approximately, yes. Yes. Okay, and how do the other board members feel about that?
Agreed.
Agree? Okay. So, objection is sustained. Okay, objection number 5. Petition signers must be registered voters in the political subdivision in which the candidate is seeking nomination or election. That's 10 ILCS 5/7 through 10, 10-2, 10-3, 10-4. Petitioners on pages 1, 2, 6 through 9, 12, 13, 15 through 18, 20 through 23 were not registered voters at the addresses they gave. Exhibit 1, pages 1, 2, 4, 5, 8 through 12, 14 through 16, 20, and 22. My recommendation with this is that we should overrule this objection. Within the documentation provided, there is no way to ascertain what the proper address is without reviewing the voter registration rolls. Would not be appropriate for this board to view the voter registration records at the Champaign County Clerk's office, and no such request was made for the board to review voter registration records.
I concur.
Okay. That objection is overruled. Okay, number 6. Respondent candidate Sandifer is in violation of 10 ILCS 5/10 through 3. Independent candidates are defined as those individuals who are not candidates of any political party, but who are candidates in an election at which party candidates may appear on the ballot. And this is subsection A. Sandifer is currently appointed as a Democrat on the Champaign County Board of Review. My recommendation is to overrule this objection since the statute cited does not address this situation. It is not the duty of the Electoral Board to address the appointment to the Board of Review as a Democrat and therefore is not relevant. Concur? Okay. Okay, subsection B. Sandifer was elected Democratic Precinct Committeeman for Cunningham 13th Precinct until her resignation on the day of her filing as an independent candidate for Township Assessor December 26, 2012. See Exhibits 3 and 5. My recommendation is to overrule this objection. Sandifer resigned the position of Precinct Committeeman prior to filing as an independent candidate, and therefore this issue is not relevant. Okay. That objection is overruled. Going on to subsection C. Sandifer ran and filed for Cunningham Township Assessor on the Democratic Party for the February 26, 2013 primary. See Exhibit 4. Sandifer at that time declared she was running for office under the Democratic Party. First, she signed the Statement of Candidacy, see Exhibit 1. Second, Sandifer signed petitions for Laura Sandifer for Township Assessor for Democratic Party, page 4, line 1, see Exhibit 1. Laura Sandifer signed Democratic petitions for Bill Brown, page 3, line 13, see Exhibit 2. Therefore, respondent candidate declared her Democratic partisan for this election cycle. And my recommendation is to partially sustain this objection, and that candidates may not file statements of candidacy for an established political party, and in addition file statements of candidacy as an independent candidate for the same election season. The part that I would not sustain but would overrule is to refer to page 8, paragraph 3 regarding signing the petition for Bill Brown, and the recommendation to overrule that particular section of the objection. Thoughts?
Sounds reasonable to me.
Concur? Okay, all right. So that objection is partially sustained and partially overruled. Okay, objection number 7. The petitioner objector furthermore objects to respondent candidate's petition based on 10 ILCS 5/10 through 4. A petition circulator may not circulate for an independent candidate or candidates in addition to candidates for an established political party. See Exhibit 1, pages 4 through 5, Exhibit 4, pages 2, 6 through 8, 17 through 20. Circulator Kevin Sandifer circulated petitions for the Democratic and Independent candidate on pages 4 through 5 on Exhibit 4 and pages 2, 6 through 8, 17 through 20 on Exhibit 4. Laura Sandifer circulated petitions for the Democratic Party and Independent candidate, see Exhibit 1, pages 1 through 3 and pages 1, 4, 12, 21 through 23. My recommendation is to sustain this objection. Petition circulators cannot circulate petitions for an established political party and also circulate petitions for an independent candidate during the same election season. The petition circulated by Laura and Kevin Sandifer for Laura Sandifer as an independent candidate should be disregarded since Laura and Kevin Sandifer previously circulated nominating petitions for Laura Sandifer as a Democratic candidate during the same election season. Please refer to page 6, response to objection 6C for cases heard in the United States Court of Appeals and Appellate Court of Illinois for decisions which support the above recommendation. The total number of signatures submitted for the candidacy of Laura Sandifer for independent candidate for Cunningham Township Assessor were 303. Of those 303 signatures, Laura Sandifer and Kevin Sandifer circulated nominating, and then there should be petitions added in there, for Laura Sandifer as the independent candidate for Cunningham Township Assessor for a total of 195 signatures. On page 1 of Laura Sandifer's petitions, there were 15 signatures. Page 2, circulated by Kevin Sandifer, there were 13 signatures. Page 4, circulated by Laura, 9 signatures. Page 6, circulated by Kevin, 15 signatures. Page 7, page 6, circulated by Kevin, was 15 signatures. Page 7, circulated by Kevin, with 15 signatures. Page 8, circulated by Kevin for 15 signatures. Page 12, circulated by Laura for 8 signatures. Page 17, circulated by Kevin for 15 signatures. Page 18, circulated by Kevin for 15 signatures. Page 19, circulated by Kevin for 15 signatures. Page 20, circulated by Kevin with 15 signatures. Page 21, circulated by Laura with 15 signatures. Page 22, circulated by Laura with 15 signatures. And page 23, circulated by Laura for 15 signatures for a total of 195. According to the Cunningham Town Clerk, Phyllis Clark, a minimum of 248 signatures were required to be submitted in order to be certified as a candidate. And also according to the Champaign County Clerk's Office, a minimum of 250 signatures were required to be submitted in order to be certified, reducing the total number of signatures submitted by Laura Sandifer, which was 303, by the number of signatures on petitions circulated by Kevin Sandifer and Laura Sandifer for a total of 195, leaves the total number of signatures at 108. 108 signatures are well below the minimum requirements of 248 as stated by the town clerk, or 250 by the Champaign County Clerk. Therefore, the candidate has not met the filing requirements. You concur, or?
Concur.
Okay, all right. So that objection is sustained. Okay. Thank you. Okay. Objection number 8. On the respondent candidates' petitions, including the page that on information and belief was signed by respondent candidate Laura Sandifer, the signatures of voters followed the language, quote, "We, the undersigned members of and affiliated with the Democratic Party and qualified primary electors of the Democratic Party," end quote, see Exhibit number 4. My recommendation is that this objection be sustained. Voters cannot sign nominating petitions for candidates of an established party and sign nominating petitions for an independent candidate during the same election season.
Concur.
Okay. Okay, on objection number 9. On petitions of Bill Brown for nomination as Democrat for alderman, including the page that on information and belief was signed by respondent candidate Laura Sandifer, the signatures of the voters follows the language that states, quote, "We, the undersigned members of and affiliated with the Democratic Party and qualified primary electors of the Democratic Party," end quote. Excuse me. See Exhibit 2. Therefore, respondent candidate declared her Democratic partisan in this election cycle. My recommendation is to overrule this objection. Again, Sandifer signed nominating petitions for Democratic candidates, but would appear that she did not sign petitions for herself as an independent candidate for the same election season, which is not prohibited.
Okay.
Okay. Okay, and then finally, the recommendation as to whether the name of Laura Sandifer shall or shall not appear and/or be printed on the ballot as an independent candidate for the office of Cunningham Township Assessor for the election to be held April 9th, 2013. My recommendation is that this objection be sustained based on the sustained objections which affect the number of signatures required for a candidate to be certified and appear on the ballot for election. Objections 4, 6C, 7, and 8. The candidate is well short of the required signatures needed to be certified as a candidate. Of the 303 signatures, 195 signatures should be stricken due to appearing on nominating petitions circulated by Kevin Sandifer and Laura Sandifer for the nomination of Laura Sandifer as an independent candidate. The total number of petition signatures to be considered would be 108, which is insufficient to meet the required amount of signatures. Agree? Okay. All right, so the objection is sustained. Now, I believe what needs to happen next is that this board needs to state its findings in writing and which objections, if any, were sustained. And a copy of that decision shall be served upon the parties to the proceedings in open proceedings before the electoral board. If a party does not appear for the receipt of the decision shall be deemed to have been served on the absent party on the date when a copy of the decision is personally served or on the date when a copy of the decision is deposited in the United States mail. What we could do is, since I have this document, I can complete it with the objections and the overruled and the corrections, yes. And then we should sign it. Is it feasible that we could do this tomorrow in open session?
Sure.
Okay. Okay. Do you want to try it in the morning, or do you have? Okay. Okay. How about 1:30? Would that be sufficient? 1:30?
Or if one, probably be finished by 1:30.
2 o'clock.
Okay. All right.
2 o'clock?
2 o'clock? Why don't we just set it at 2 o'clock then? Okay. So this board then will reconvene at 2 o'clock on Friday, January 18th, 2013, to issue the findings in writing. That's it. Tomorrow at 2 o'clock, Friday, January 18th, 2013. It is 2:40 p.m. on Thursday, January 17th.